What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to Cowboys Daily, home of one fan's thoughts, ideas, and opinions on our team, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm your host, Rome Sagisi. Cowboys Daily is being brought to you by the wonderful folks over at FanArch, your source for daily fan-driven media. Visit them at fanarch.com to get the latest videos, articles, and podcasts on whatever you are a fan of. On today's show, I'll look at the start of OTAs and what I'll be looking out for, and also the team the Cowboys will be practicing with during training camp. But before I get started, subscribe to the channel at Cowboys Daily and at FanArch, and hit the like and notifications buttons below. All right, today, June 1st, marks the start of organized team activities for the Cowboys, and while still voluntary, it's a great way to gauge a player's readiness for the team this season. Of course, all eyes will be on the lookout for star wide receiver George Pickens. Things have been awfully quiet in regards to Pickens, and really I think that's the way it should be and the way that the team wants it. We'll also finally get to see the rookies and veterans together. There's been a lot of talk from both sides regarding the excitement and opportunity to welcome each other to the team. We'll also get a glimpse of some of the camp competitions and position battles that will be shaping up in the coming weeks. One of the more interesting things to keep an eye out for is the ongoing linebacker storyline. Coach Schottenheimer has made it clear that determining who best fits the role for wearing the green dot is of utmost priority. And with a fairly young and inexperienced group, no one player really has the upper hand for that role. With the recent retirement of Paris Campbell, the wide receiver room also has become a bit more active. There's already talk about some receivers not even making it to training camp, being cut or traded by then. There's some young, hungry pass catchers in this group just waiting for their chance to show what they got. And I think Dak will have a lot to say about this coming training camp. I also want to keep tabs on the running backs. Depending on how some enter OTAs, it may become a foregone conclusion who will be backing up Javonte in the regular season. Like I said, we'll see who's ready and who's not. June 1st also might see who becomes available on the market, as it usually is the date that teams can cut or trade players with minimal financial consequences. Like the Cowboys, many teams will be playing the waiting game and seeing who becomes available via trade or release. The Cowboys still have several holes that need to be filled, particularly at linebacker. I've said this many times, and so have a lot of other people. And while they may not be saying out loud, I'm pretty sure the team, the coaches, and the front office is fully aware of this. The fate of players like Jordan Brooks out of Miami and Alvin Kamara will soon become clear, and whether or not the team plans on pursuing them one way or another. Speaking of Alvin Kamara and the Saints, the Cowboys have confirmed that they will be holding joint practices with New Orleans this training camp in Oxnard, California, where the team typically holds their training camps. The Cowboys have typically also held joint practices with the LA Rams, and this year should be no different. Usually teams that play in the preseason have a joint practice. There is no confirmation, however, that the Cowboys will be practicing with the Seahawks in Seattle or the Cardinals. Joint practices are a great way to gauge where a team is as the regular season approaches. In past practices with the Rams, I often recalled how Dallas had a hard time against their defense, primarily because of one Aaron Donald. Against the Saints, the Cowboys will have the chance to go against a familiar name with the organization. Saints head coach Kellen Moore was the Cowboys offensive coordinator from 2019 to 2022. This will be a great litmus test, especially for the defense, as Moore has been known to run some diverse offensive schemes a la the 2024 Eagles when he was their offensive coordinator and when they did win the Super Bowl. The Saints last year, however, were not a good team, finishing last in the NFC South with a record of 6-11. And when you look at their offensive line, you understand why. Overall, they were ranked 28th in the league with the lowest pass block win rate and 27th in run blocking. They did bolster their line this offseason with some offseason acquisitions, however, but this matchup against the Cowboys' defensive line and linebackers should provide a great opportunity to see how the defense stacks up against an offense that has a similar identity to the Cowboys' offense. What will be telling is if Dallas's defensive line looks good against the Cowboys' O-line, but struggles against the Saints, hinting that improvements must be made to both O-line and D-line units. Against the run, the Cowboys defense will face a similar look. Kellen Moore runs a hybrid inside zone and power gap run blocking scheme, much like the Cowboys, although Moore's teams leaned more towards a zone look. The Saints also recently signed Travis Etienne to be their primary back, replacing the aging Alvin Kamara. Etienne has surpassed 1,000 yards 3 times already in his 4-year career. Against the Saints defense, the Dallas' offense will be matched up against the league's 9th-ranked defense last year. The Saints defense was good last year, not the main reason they had a losing record. This should be a great joint practice for both teams. Alvin Kamara might even swap jerseys after the practice and stay with the Dallas team. So recently the question has been brought up and been asked about who the next player or players should be enshrined into the team's Ring of Honor. The last person to have the honor was, of course, Jimmy Johnson back in 2023, and we all know the drama surrounding Jerry and Jimmy and why it took so long. On average, the Ring of Honor inductions take about 5 years. So, this is just talk and probably won't happen this year, but it appears unanimous that both Tony Romo and Jason Witten should be inducted into the Ring of Honor next. And like the triplets in 2005, inducted on the same day. Some detractors, however, would say that neither has won a Super Bowl, but that didn't stop Don Perkins or Don Meredith from being enshrined. To me, it makes total sense that they go in together. Neither would have had the careers that they had without the other. Tony Romo entered the league and the Cowboys as an undrafted free agent in 2004. He never got his first start until 2006, though, when he famously took over the starting role when Drew Bledsoe was benched by then coach Bill Parcells, shades of Tom Brady's rise a few years earlier. Jason Witten was drafted by the Cowboys in the 3rd round of the 2003 draft and was already a key player in the Cowboys offense, amassing nearly 1,000 yards in his 2nd season. His career, however, really took off once Tony became the starting quarterback. Witten soon became Romo's security blanket and the Y option their bread and butter. The pair perfected that play to the point where it was practically uncoverable. In 2018, when Witten announced his retirement, former coach Jason Garrett talked about how this was Jason's play, his signature play, going on to say that Witten has over 1,100 catches, and half of them easily were from the Y option. Tony would end his career throwing 649 passes for 7,287 yards and 37 touchdowns to Jason Witten. In his retirement speech, Witten proclaimed that he would not have been the player he became without Tony Romo. On hearing of Witten's retirement, Romo went on to pay tribute to his friend and teammate, calling him the best he's ever played with. And when it comes to quarterbacks and tight end combinations, theirs had a special chemistry and really saw the start of the future duos like Brady and Gronk and Mahomes and Kelsey. Hopefully Dak and Ferg can continue to build on their legacy. What do you guys think? Who should be next players enshrined into the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor? Let me know in the comments below. And finally, there's been an interesting trend when it comes to Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Since 2019, Dak's career has been on somewhat of a roller coaster. One Cowboys writer noted that during even years, the Cowboys quarterback has often been injured, thus causing him to miss several games and, of course, affecting his stats for those years. During those even years, Dak has missed 25 games, including that 2020 season when he missed 12 games due to that season-ending ankle injury. He still put out good numbers, however, considering the amount of games he missed. During odd years, Dak is unbelievable, missing only one game and throwing for over 4,000 yards each of those years. Could there really be something to this trend, or is it just coincidence? Something similar has happened in the past. Another example of this, up and down and odd in even years, is Major League Baseball's San Francisco Giants. From 2010 to 2014, the Giants famously won 3 World Series titles during the even years, but consistently struggled or missed the playoffs entirely during the odd years. Is something similar happening to Dak? Is there some bad juju going on? With 2026 being an even year, should we be worried? I really hope not. I hope nothing bad happens with all the changes made this offseason and the needle pointing up for the team. Dak going down due to injury is not something I can get with, especially when we have Sam Howell and Joe Milton as Prescott's backups. So this will be the last time I will talk about this, and no one else should either. I need to send out a memo or something to the Cowboys media or something. Stop talking about this. That's it. That's all I have for you on this show, everybody. I'll be keeping my eyes out for OTAs. If any of you notice anything, let me know in the comments and we can discuss. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel at Cowboys Daily and hit the like and notifications bell to keep up with the latest on the Dallas Cowboys. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.